Hi, welcome at your service in Curris. I've just rattled on twice, and it's Sunday. I normally would go to a church on a Sunday or the like, or work on messages but not deliver messages or things like that. I've got an awful lot of editing to do today. Yet I've just delivered or spoken 2 half-hour messages, and now I've got a third, and I don't really know where this is heading to. I just feel that I hadn't mentioned something relating to relationship in the last one. And if you saw the last one, you saw an incredible observation. Not that, oh, I'm wonderful and I observed something and it's incredible about me. No, I'm just delivering what God says. But I find it incredible that God said it. I find it incredible that God doesn't want us to go to heaven. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the last message. And I only say it for a couple of minutes at the end. I find it incredible that people are focusing on sin and focusing on the law and focusing on heaven and hell and focusing on whatever it is. But so few are focusing on God and relationship with God, where that is where it's really all about. It's all about our relationship with God, your relationship with God, my relationship with God, and that it is a strong, loving relationship with God and all aspects of love. The full love, the brotherly love, the love like a family, the desire, I love ice cream, kind of love. I desire ice cream. I desire God. God should be an addiction. I'm not saying, make God an addiction in your life. You should just go, wow, God's blowing my mind so much, boom, that all I want to do is spend every minute in one way or another with God, either in reading the Bible and learning about God, or in prayer, or doing what God's called me to do, or whatever it might be. Just even if I'm doing other things, while I'm driving, thinking about God rather than thinking about work while driving. That God is just the focus that we can't get out of our head, an addiction, a compulsion, and in a love compulsion, we just want God to be blessed by us so much that not only are we avoiding sin, but we're not even thinking about those things. We can't get theft or lies or cheating or murder or whatever it is into our head. It's not possible. We're too busy thinking of God. So therefore, those sins don't even enter our head in the first case. I'm starting to sound like the last message already. But what I wanted to express here was something more along the line of that relationship, but still, what it is and why I get stuck on that relationship. Well, I mean, that's the point. Revelation's good, and some people only preach revelation. But here's a revelation for you. Christianity is not about revelation, unless that revelation is not the end times, but God revealing himself to you in your life by you living the life that just chases God because you love God so much that all you want to do is chase God. That's it, my friends. That is Christianity. Discovering that God wants a relationship with you to the point that you're addicted to God. You don't think of anything else. You don't care about anything else. People, so what? I don't need things. I don't need relationships. I don't need whatever. I mean, I'm not going to just straight out say, oh, well, therefore I'll intend to neglect relationships. No. I'm saying what is primarily important to me is the primary relationship with God. I'm not going to turn around and say, oh, well, I love God so much that I'm going to go into a soul environment and live in the wilderness by myself in isolation and never see another human being again so I can just spend my life with God. Well, that'd be a life in sin anyway, because we're all called to tell others about God. You can't do that if you're living in an isolated life, even if it's an isolated community, like a sanctuary, a monks or a nuns sanctuary, whatever they call them, out in the middle of nowhere or whatever it might be, and they don't go out into the community and the community doesn't come to them. They're just there in their convent or whatever it might be, and they're living their life between them and God and those other sisters around them, or brothers if they're monks. And that's it. Not sharing it with the world. We're just here to have a relationship with God and that's it. No. Did Jesus say, hide your light or shine your light so that everyone can see it? Shine your light so everyone can see it. Did Jesus say, oh, well, you get with another half a dozen lights and keep them under a bucket or a bushel, or keep them hidden because you're now with a few other lights and it's not just your light now, so therefore you can now hide it in a convent? No. Shine your light so the world can see and people can praise God for your good deeds. What, your good deeds to all the other sisters or monks or whatever? No. Your good deeds to the world. Carry your cross in a convent only and keep away from the world. No. Or maybe you can walk out into the world and wear your habit and your sister's uniform, as it were, whatever they call them, the robes of a monk or whatever it might be, and go out into the community in these robes, and people can respect you for being the godly person that they can see, and they see the godliness because you're wearing robes. robes are not godliness. The things you wear are not godliness. And what are you doing in the community? Are you sharing the relationship aspect of God with people? Or are you sharing the don't sin with people? The abide by the commandments, abide by the law with people? The manly, no, I don't mean manly as in tough, I mean manly as in not godly, as in man's way of living in relationship to God. Oh, abide by the law and the commandments and try to be sinless. Well, that's how man tries to get to heaven, in man's strength. God's not in that. God's in relationship, as again, go back to the last one. So, why do I get stuck on relationship? Well, firstly, I got stuck on grace. Maybe 10 months ago, when I came back to God after having backslidden for many, many years, 23 probably years, 24 maybe. I got stuck on grace. And grace is how we are saved. Jesus put that in action by dying on the cross. But what he put in action by dying on the cross is grace. Ephesians 2:8, for by grace you are saved through faith, and that is not of yourselves, it is the gift of God. Well, the gift of God part is where Jesus died on the cross. He gave that gift, paying for your sins, so grace may abound. And we're saved by grace through faith. So therefore, not evidence, not fact. You've got to believe that God is there and doing these things for you. And in that belief, you seek a relationship with him, because grace is, and the quick way to explain it is having God in your life, in your heart, so much that it can be seen in your life. Relationship. The unmerited favour is therefore relationship. Strong in Strong's Concordance said, especially the divine influence upon the heart and its reflection in the life. Grace, charis, the word translated into grace, is the divine relationship on the heart and its reflection in life, and how that is seen through people living their lives. So, having such a relationship with God that people just look at you and go, wow, that person's a Christian. Because they wear a nun's robes. No. Because they wear a monk's robes. No. Or a priest's collar. Well, we know for a fact that in history there have been many monks and nuns and priests that have gone out and lived a sinful life in one way or another. We know that many of them are just people wearing uniforms that don't have that relationship with God that will make you walk away from sin. And we know that there are many people in just regular old clothing that don't have a paid role with a church or whatever it might be, that all they want to do is talk about God and godliness and so on. They're not only not thinking about sin, but they're thinking about expressing God to you and helping you learn how to get that relationship with God. So that's what I'm getting at. Why is it that I talk about charis a lot, grace a lot? Because it's what forms the relationship with God. And avoiding sin isn't what matters. Living by the commandments isn't what matters. Having relationship with God is what matters. If there were 3 possibilities, and one was avoiding sins, or the other was living by the commandments, and the third was having a relationship with God, and only one of those 3 could get you to heaven, which one do you think it'd be? It's having the relationship with God. It's that simple. It's not avoiding sin or living by the commandments. Because if you live by the commandments, Jesus said the most important commandment is love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your might, and the second is like it, love your neighbour as yourself. If the most important thing is loving God, then it's relationship. Relationship supersedes all the commandments. And when I say supersedes, it's not replacing the commandments as in, oh, because I love God, I can now go out and sin. No. If you love God, you won't go out and sin. If you love your country, you're not going to join the enemy country's military. You join your own country's military. If I don't believe in military myself. I believe that there should be no wars, full stop, the end, and therefore no need of military. But you can't say, well, because I love my country, therefore I can go out and join the enemy. Because I love God, I'm now free to go sin. No, you can't do that. It's not possible. If you love God, you support God. Not the enemy, not the sin, not that. But again, it's not a matter of somebody saying, well, because I love military, I'm going to join the army. Well, that's like saying, because I love the law, I'm going to focus on the importance of the law. Again, the law is only an aspect. It's not the relationship with God. It's loving the military and joining the military, not loving your country. See the difference? Loving your country in this example is loving God, and loving the military in this example is loving the law. What do you talk about all the time? Let's go back to the example. Do you talk about the military all the time? Or do you talk about your country and loving your country and what your country's done for you? And see what I mean? 2 different focuses. When you hear somebody talk, what are they talking about? God, love, relationship, or revelation, or prophecy, or sin, or the law? And they're the things they focus on. And many people focus on those things all the time. People, I find, talking about the law all the time. All they ever want to talk about is the law, the law, the law. They love the law. It's like loving the military. You happen to join the military, which just happens to be your country's military, but it's the military you love. You're hanging out for that opportunity to go to war. You're not there going, I love my country so much that I hope it never goes to war. See the difference? I hope we never have that conflict and that trouble. the one that loves the military quite often doesn't love their country. They just want an opportunity to go out and kill. The one that loves their country would more likely go and be a senator or a member of parliament or somebody working for the government or somebody that's out there promoting their country to other countries or whatever it might be. How's your relationship with God? Is that the only thing that matters in your life? That's the point. So why do I always talk about relationship with God? Because that's where I'm heading to, really. I started, when I came back to God, by just looking at a few scriptures and bang, up came grace. And I went, okay, sure, we're saved by grace through faith. And grace is, gee, it's been so long I can't remember. Let's go look it up. Strong's, especially the divine influence upon the heart and its reflection in life. Wow. So, letting God influence our heart, letting God move us to a godly life is what saves us. And of course through Jesus and through the sacrifice of the cross, which enabled that. And then it was a matter of I started talking about that. Because it's like, boom, blew my mind. I can't express how it blew my mind. I just never can find the words. But there's so many things in there that are just, when you really think about them, it's like, wow. Even though it may seem like a simple thing. Well, that's just a simple thing. Of course, Christianity's relationship with God. But people don't get it. People still focus on the law, still focus on sin, still focus on military. I only want to talk about the military. Oh, who cares about how the place is governed? I just want to go from sergeant to lieutenant. You haven't got it. It's about the relationship. It's about the country, not the military. It's about the relationship with God, not the sin, not the law. Of course, you don't say, if you're in government, you don't say we don't need or want a military. You don't stand up against the military. It's just the part, a normal requirement of a country. But it's not the focus. Because if my focus is on the military, it's because I love tanks and guns and whatever else. Battleships and subs and bombers and whatever. Because I love seeing them destroy things and killing people and... Well, that's not loving your country. That's just loving war. And that, again, is the relationship of loving the commandments and loving the law and saying how important the law is. No, the relationship's what's important. Relationship with God. So why is it that I try and say something in a few minutes and 25 minutes later, nearly, still feel like I haven't even barely started? Okay, why is it that people are focusing on Revelation all the time? Well, I think that's because those that focus on Revelation realise that there are a lot of Christians that are quite interested in Revelation because they all want to know about the end times or whatever it might be, and therefore if you focus on Revelation, you're going to be a popular minister. People will want to listen to you, and you're chasing popularity, pride, ego, self. Where's God? Not in those things. God, the Bible says God will resist the proud. If you're preaching on finance all the time, well, finance is a popular thing. Same story. You want to be popular and all the rest of it. But maybe when you're preaching on finance, you get the opportunity to say, the godly way to get finance is to give, and therefore give to me and my ministry. People preaching on finance often want you to give to them. What about people that get stuck on prophecy? Same thing. A large amount of Christians are interested in prophecy. So they just want to preach what's popular and become popular so they can gain. Do I preach on relationship to become popular because people are interested in relationship with God? I don't think that many people are interested in relationship with God. They just want to go to heaven. And as I said in the last message, we don't go to heaven anyway. We go to paradise for one. And God doesn't even want us to go there, because after 1,000 years, God brings us back to earth and live on earth, and he makes a new Jerusalem and lives with us here on earth. He doesn't want us to go to heaven. But what does he want? Relationship. Is preaching on relationship popular? No. Most people don't care about that or learning more about that. So why do I do it? It's important. It's what salvation is. It's not avoiding sin. It's not living by the law. It's not doing the do's and going to church on a Sunday or a Saturday, or even, it's like, oh, it's more important to uphold the Sabbath day, which is a Saturday. Well, guess what? The apostles also met on a Sunday. In fact, in Acts, they went to church every day of the week. Christianity is not a one-day thing. We should be fellowshipping every day. And should we hold church meetings? Well, maybe just a meal, and talking about God at a meal, and sharing that meal with all our neighbours, and asking the entire neighbourhood to come, and we can talk about God with them. And if they won't come, go knock on their door and talk about God with them. Why? Because our relationship with God is so good that we just want to do what God says. And what does God say? Go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. Go into all the world making disciples of all nations. I don't know if I've mixed those two verses up, but Matthew and Mark, the last verses. Shine your light. Carry your cross. Declare Jesus your Lord rather than deny Jesus. These are all things of go into all the world and preach the gospel. These are all things of let other people know about God. Because other than having that relationship with God, that's what it's all about. Expressing God to others. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your might. And love your neighbour as yourself. So if you love God fully, then and you love your neighbour fully, well then you want your neighbour to have that same love with God. Because that's what your love is. Loving God with all your heart and all your might. And if you love your neighbour as yourself, you want the same for them. You want everything, in all the good things at least, in your life for them as well. So you are compelled to go tell them about God and bring them into a great relationship with God and help them find their call and train in that call and launch that call and put a community of believers around them to support them through the whole process. And then have them go out and tell everyone about God as well. And on and on and on it goes. Okay, I don't like talking more than half an hour, and half an hour just ticked over. All I can say is, I'll probably be cutting a little bit out here and there, so it might be under half an hour. All I can say is, I hope you've got it now. I hope that you realise that relationship might not be a popular subject as far as delivering messages go. But relationship is what it's all about. Relationship with God and people in respect of God, in comparison, because you relate with God, how you then relate with them. That's what it's all about. So, I hope you got something from this message, and if so, give it a good rating. Rate all my messages out of 10. Post the good ones on your page. Put a comment on it. If it was a good message, put a comment on it. If it was something really good, maybe even add at the bottom, join this group or something along that line, whatever. If you need to discover your call or train in your call or launch your call, let us know. We can help. In the meantime, contact us to do these things. Bless you. Govern well in Charis.